Metal groans in discomfort as its frame compresses. Glass shakes and snickers, full knowledge that it alone stands as a barrier between the crew and the black depth outside. Like invisible arms squeezing the cabin with all its might, wishing only to crush the sub like a tin can. Within were 5 derelicts, a term coined for salvagers, investigating a signal that blew through the system from 15,000 meters below the tense surface of water. Clean, lacking waves like a marble. Took 4 blasts from an orbital kinetic cannon to break the surface tension, allowing the derelicts to go beneath its murky waves. Passing 4,000 meters, the abyss, where no light dare tread and where only one singular pulse of light may emit. A fiery red beams from a subsurface station, pulsing, again, again, again. It was still a few thousand meters down, and the pitch black beneath us, perched on the only continental mass we could find between 2 cliffs leading into a massive unexplored crevice. Depth calculators still haven't found the bottom, hidden as it is. We were sent in to find where the SOS was coming from. Passing 6,000 meters. It's been quiet, with only a few low groans from the ballast interrupting that silence. Hideous and beautiful, the ocean is nothing but a masterpiece. Our sonar has not picked up anything thus far, and with a 4,000-mile radius, it is only proof that we are truly in an abyss. No rocky formations, no life forms, not even bacterial life, just our sub, the SS Malak. As we sink deeper into the abyss, my job becomes far more difficult. I manage room pressurization, normally automated, but the station wanted us to be extra cautious. After 10,000 meters, it's one button press from instantaneous death due to barotrauma. I've seen it. At this depth, the body is its own weapon. Implosion. Your body guts itself brutally. The fashion by which it does this involves innumerable organs expanding and collapsing. In the blink of an eye, what used to be your friend is now a misty cloud of parting crimson. Passing 9,000 meters. In just a few minutes, our ears will start to ring. A signal I need to up pressurization in the sub. Just a tick too much, however, and we will meet a watery grave. The control panel in front of me started to beep a couple hundred meters up, showcasing a warning that the pressure in my specific cabin was getting too low. If I let it beep for a second longer, my cabin would have collapsed, adding to the weight of our sub and eventually sinking the SS Malak. Everything must be perfect. Every tiny calculation, no room for error. Our oxygen supply? If the temperature increases, the entire supply could explode and puncture the bow, dragging us all down with it. The sonar? If we lose power to it, even for a moment, won't be able to notify us of our descent speed. Moving too fast, we hit a rock and implode. Moving too slow, and we are wasting valuable minutes beneath the surface. And the pilot, his hands are wary and eyes are straining, sweating profusely. One wrong move and we've lost time down here. This SOS beacon was calculated to be below 20,000 meters, under the crust and buried in the mantle. 10,000 meters. We found the station, who signaled us into a dry dock for resupply and a small break lasting only 2 hours.
Docking complete.
A mistake, in my opinion. The break may only slow us down. I remained on the ship, telling those on the station I cannot leave until I guarantee the safe re-entry of my companions. About 30 minutes in, I gave in and left. The station was dilapidated, held together by the bare minimum. I believe I found some gum holding a small hole in the ground of the dry dock together, frozen by nitrogen. Depth gum, too, made out of plants found down here. Eases anxiety while retaining focus. The crew aboard the station, Station Lamia, one of 4 here and the only one at this depth in the trench. The crew were all very calm, relaxed, and overall pleasant. They gave us food, water, and the occasional ration of alcohol, and eventually sat us down for a more serious topic, the trench. The widest berth they found down here was a mere 800 meters in diameter. Our sub could easily slip through, but that was merely the opening. Past 14,000 meters, the diameter never opens up to 800 meters, meaning we would have to take it slow and cautious. They warned us of the wildlife down here as well, incredibly territorial and incredibly large to boot. The largest creature they've seen can dwarf the entire station. It's so massive that it could never find its way out of the cavern system. The caves it resides in are too far beneath the trench to explore, but a probe was sent in and never found the bottom. only the horrifying sight of an unknown station. Upon exploration of it, the researchers found scriptures of unknown languages. A sign we have been looking for. A sign of sentient alien life. The unknown station was named Incognita and has been probed only twice. The full station has not been explored as part of it was burrowed in the wall of the cave. Another thread they mentioned, oozing black liquid, an ichor so strong it could stick our whole sub to the side of a building on Earth with only 5 square inches of it. It's so powerful the extraction is next to impossible. They would require a requisition extraction mech and have it modded to survive at this depth. To put it lightly, this cave system wants us dead. The water wants us dead. The creatures, the rocks, the currents, all of it wants us dead. The final and most foreboding threat they warned us about. The water itself. It's not water. It feels, looks, tastes like water, but it's lighter. And on a microbial scale, it too moves upon its own volition. Tiny molecules that sink into the pores of skin and bones. The molecules themselves will expand and connect during expansion. And when you swim in the water, you can't come out. They happily gave us a new depth suit. Only one, and not fitted. We boarded our sub and said goodbye. The crew gave us hugs and we left with a somber farewell. They didn't expect to see us again. Passing 12,000 meters. The pressure is off the charts and hard to control. Outside is no longer black, but now gray rocks painted by my light. These rocks move swiftly. I thought they said this cave had a wide berth, I said to the captain. The radio clicked on.
Yeah, I thought so too. I can't remain mad at them though. I wouldn't want to do constant calculations down here.
He has a point, but this is a whole lot smaller than they led us to believe. We barely fit through some caves. The stalactites nearly scraped my window, but they were pointed at a peculiar angle. Odd. Why would they be pointed off to the side? Maybe the ship nudged them? Passing 15,000 meters. We were nearing the point of the SOS, with enough oxygen to get us back to the station with an hour to spare, and enough fuel to get us to the surface and back. We were all feeling warily confident. The crew had snuck a pack of depth gum for us onto the ship, so we were all feeling more relaxed than normal, even with our ship barely fitting through some sections. The ship groaned a few meters down, made us all jump out of our seats. It was so loud we thought we scraped against the wall. Turns out the ballast just kicked some sand from the bed. Our onboard engineer screamed,
"Watch it! We don't want to poke a hole in the ballast. You know that, right?"
The captain quickly responded, I didn't hit it. The sonar didn't state the bed was anywhere close to us. We had about a 10-meter difference between the ballast and the sand bed.
Uh-huh,
the engineer groaned.
Just make sure you watch it next time, please.
Of course, the captain wearily said. He looked more confused as he examined the sonar. I peeked over and saw what was confusing him. The sand bed behind us was now much lower. How can that be? It's solid rock with a pile of sand on it. Thank God we only nicked the pile of sand itself. Passing 17,000 meters. This cave is by far an anomaly. Nothing we have ever seen before. The cave walls shift, I swear on my life. I told the captain, and he said nothing. Just a blank stare. Of course, that's the staple of him. He wears drab attire. Only his captain coat and hat set him apart from the rest of us. The generic blue captain's coat was nothing to scoff at, however, for he had a number of badges, all decorating his upper left shoulder. One patch was a commendation of performing 12 missions below 10,000 meters. This would be his 13th. Another patch showed his military service during the fall. One for 40 years of service. Finally, there was one patch I hadn't recognized. A red patch decorated with a blue rose in the middle, with the words Flos Isidere encircling it. I know that patch. I just can't put a name to it. Passing 19,000 meters. We were approximately 1 hour from the SOS. The captain turned to me with his dead glare and he said, "I want you to go in the suit and investigate the signal." I was surprised. "Why me?" I asked. He spoke again, this time without tone. "I want you to go in the suit and investigate the signal. That's an order." I quickly responded, "Yes, sir." But something felt off about him. As we descended, the pressure began to stabilize and I asked him, "May I go get a drink, sir?" He nodded quietly, eyes fixated on the sonar, which shifted every few minutes. I got up and began my descent into the musty storage, where I picked up a flashlight, a seal, and a bottle of water. As I turned around, the engineering chief was behind me, glaring at me with similarly dead eyes. "You got what you need for your dive?" I nodded, shaken by his posture and gaze. "Wait, how did you know I was diving? The captain never sent out a message." He turned around and grabbed a handheld sonar and the dive suit I was going to wear. "Better get prepared. We're only 500 meters from the bottom." Then he shoved them into my arms and slowly walked away. I was trembling, both from the encounter and from the thought that we were already only 500 meters away from the bottom. Which means either we are descending fast or the caves shifted again, bringing the beacon closer to us for some unexplained reason. 20,000 meters. We stopped just a few meters away from the derelict, crushed into itself with triangular holes roughly grinded into the body. The scene was horrendous. I was alone in the jettison chamber, in my suit with an hour of oxygen available to me. I booted up my seal and it began to whir rapidly. I turned it off to preserve power and gave a thumbs up to the camera. Voice comms weren't available in this suit, unfortunately, so I was on my own. The chamber opened and a cold wash of liquid cleaned the scuffs off my suit and I was immediately enveloped by the deep black. The ship's bow lights were on, illuminated the whole of the wreck. I booted up my seal again and it tugged me towards the wreck, where its perch flashlight poked into recesses and revealed exploded oxygen tanks and cracked glass. After surveying the outside, I wormed my way within through an incredibly large hold. The same triangular holds decorated the rim of it. The steel door ahead of me was covered in that ichor the crew on the station mentioned, so I wasn't getting in through that. Luckily, the way the ship was bent showed a smaller hole that gave way to the inside. I barely squeezed through, and before I knew it, I was inside the medical bay. Only a distorted arm floated towards the ceiling. Other than that, the place was empty. I noticed that the door had claw marks on it. Something with incredible strength had tried to break in. I found the SOS beacon and turned it off. As soon as the switch clicked into place, though, the lights from the sub were gone, replaced by a deafening squeal of metal against stone, similar to that a rumble beneath my feet. I had to get out of the sub. I clawed my way to a hole and began to tear through the rusted metal with only my hands. Unfortunately, the metal had cut a hole in my glove. I swam out, searching for my sub, but nothing was there except dead black. Limitless, I used my seal to chase upwards for a minute and found nothing, not even the cave walls. I felt a current, a pull. The water shifted from behind me. An unknown presence was there. I quickly descended back to the sub and sheltered myself inside the medical bay. I saw something move. Something massive. Enormous teeth and a gaping maw. Eventually it all went black again. My light flickered off, so all I could see was black. It came back on again, illuminated a pale figure in the distance. Outside the hole in the sub, a massive mouth with hundreds of teeth all swirling in an oval. It drew closer and closer until I could see the shine of its teeth. It slammed into the sub, my light flashed off again, and all I could hear were the hideous moans emitted from the sub itself as it conformed to the mouth biting into it. The rumbling began again. God, I can't take another cave shift. It continued for minutes on end until grinding to a halt. It was all quiet. My light still didn't work. The battery finally ran out. I felt the rush of water. The water shifted again, but this time it was next to me. I reached for my belt and grabbed an emergency flare. I struggled with the tip for a while and fumbling, lighting it, until eventually it snapped to life, and before me, illuminated by the red of my flare, a horrific figure appeared and disappeared again. It looked to have had tentacles. I have no idea. I slowly rose to my feet. The whole medical bay was illuminated now. I could see the hole. Instantly, I got up and swam out, where I was met with a distant sound that rang through my body. I felt something slowly envelop my leg and tug me downwards. I let go of the flare and flailed back and forth as the thing grabbed me did. I was hurled into the sand where I snagged a small pointed rock, which I used to jab into the gripping mass. With one hand I held it, with the other I punched into the squishy thing with the rock. It let go. and I began to fall deeper. The flare was below me, showcasing a massive cave, something from my deepest nightmares. The walls were flexing and slowly writhing into itself, weaving a horrid shape around me. I continued to fall, feeling the water rush around me, watching the flare as it too fell. The walls began to slowly narrow until only a small hole big enough for one person to fit was found. It looked like it was excavated. When I gently landed beside the hole, I picked up the now dying flare. I raised it. Nothing was around me, but I felt the water rushing to and fro. I reluctantly hopped into the hole and slowly descended into it. I fell for what felt like hours, before reaching a small cave with no way out. When I hit the ground, a horrific sound bellowed through the cave. Another groan. The flare died out. I was alone in a crunchy pit. It felt like the floors were made of wood that had been burnt to cinders. An hour passed. I began crying, watching my oxygen supply deplete slowly. Just let me die already. Before me, I saw a small yellow light. It was growing in size. It's the end. I'm free. I jumped to my feet and stammered closer. On my approach, I realized it was something physical. The size of a walnut, growing, becoming more bright. It began to illuminate something it was hanging on. I moved in for a closer look, my hand outstretched to grab the pulsing seed, until the seed flashed brightly and showcased the horror that it held. Long, gangly hands. All its bones were grotesquely lengthened, and a swirling mass of tentacles weaved into the ball laid at its feet. A human skeleton. Its ribcage still loosely intact and its arms slowly enveloping me. The skull was fully dysmorphic. The upper half of the skull was lengthened with sharp, elongated teeth pointing from the front. Below its jaw hung, barely held onto the skull. From the roof of its mouth, the seed hung. How was it moving? The last thought crossed my mind, only to be answered by a realization of the very black ichor, covering the joints and crossing from one bone to another. Its arms closed in, its head moved towards me. The light began to fade.
Hello, mortals, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you were scared. We should all be a little more scared. Who wants to go swimming in the ocean sometime? I know I do. Anyhow, if you enjoyed this, throw a like, subscribe, or as always, whatever the fuck you want. And if you're gonna leave a dislike, at least tell me what the fuck you didn't like. You know what I mean? Like, what's your issue, bro? Really? What's your problem? Is it just a classic case of they hate us because they hate us? Because I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Let me know why you hate us, and if it is because you hate us. Oh yeah, and one more thing. I'm your father.